Chef J.J. Johnson is a world-renowned cook named one of Forbes 30 Under 30, who is currently starring in CuriosityStream's The History of Food. The 5-part docuseries explores the history, culture, science, and lore behind the food that becomes a central part of the human experience. Let's take a look.
Since the dawn of time, the importance of one question has outweighed all others. What's for dinner? Our omnivorous nature has allowed humans to survive and thrive.
Fire is what made us. Fire is the creator.
It was a fundamental part of our evolution to become great farmers.
Every mouthful has driven human evolution.
Food has all these amazing stories to it that everybody forgot about.
And progress. A story 2 million years in the making.
We forget that our food's alive. We forget that most of those stories are totally mysterious.
Of what was.
These flavors can take you back to the earth.
Is.
It changed the staples of whole continents.
And will be on our plates.
Everyone, please put your hands together for Chef J.J. Johnson. How you doing today?
I'm amazing. How are you guys?
Good. Have you tried your eggnog yet?
Let me do it right now.
A little sip, a little cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. I'll touch your glass.
Okay, good.
So good. So let's talk about the history of food. I think it's such a fascinating concept because we've seen food continue to evolve and change. So why was it something you wanted to be a part of?
Well, I cook something uniquely that nobody really cooks in the world. I cook food of the African diaspora. So I'm studying food and then putting on a plate which represents me. Mm-hmm. So the history of food has really gave me this platform to express myself. There's not many documentaries or food shows that allow the chef to be themselves and talk about food, and History of Food allowed me to do that.
That's really cool. How did you get tapped to be a part of the project?
I knew one of the producers from back in the day. I was on a show called Rocco's Dinner Party. Mm-hmm. She was on the come up, I was on the come up, and I got this text message saying, hey JJ, we're shooting this food show, we love you. I think you'd be perfect for it, so always be cool with everybody you know.
Yeah, there you go. I'm curious, what are some things you learned about the history of food that surprised you throughout this process?
So I learned a little bit about myself in the process. I love this ingredient that we all grew up with called rice.
I'm familiar.
And it gets a really bad rep. And I'm opening up a rice concept called Field Trip in the future. And what we did was we looked at the grain rice and then the history behind it and then how it connected people. So through shooting my segment, we started to connect with other people. So Glenn Roberts of Anson Mills in South Carolina, or the ancient seed vault, I believe it's in Alaska. So like all these great people doing great things, I was able to connect them through a unique ingredient that I loved.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of rice.
Oh well, you better come to Harlem. I'm opening up Field Trip in the
Wait,
new
where?
year.
I live in Harlem.
Between 115th and 116th on Lennox.
I live
right in front
literally
of
right there.
Well,
we're gonna talk.
I'm gonna look for you.
Okay, I'll be there. Opening day.
Rice party.
I love rice.
And in the first episode, you guys discussed the importance of fire in cooking and in the invention of cooking. I'm curious if you could speak more to that. Obviously, it's necessary. I don't think people realize how necessary.
How necessary fire is?
Yes.
Well, you need fire to cook. So. Yeah, I mean, fire is very unique in cooking. So if you see it more in restaurants now, you see open flame a lot. And I grew up cooking, I didn't cook on open flame, but I grew up in the Poconos, so I used to build fires as a kid. So fire is a unique element, and if you know how to control fire while you cook, you'll get the best product.
Right.
And in episode 2, you talk about the agricultural revolution, right? And the invention of the taco, right?
Yeah, I mean, a great chef on that show,
Yeah.
a restaurant called Claro, he talks about the invention of the taco.
Right.
I stay away from that. I just talk about the food of the African diaspora.
Right. But that's so amazing. Thinking of how, foods we still eat today are clearly related to our ancestors, people who lived thousands of years ago. But why do you think it seems so detached to us?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, if you really think about food, right? Food is based off of migration, chosen migration or forced migration. And there's people that live together for over hundreds of years, and then there's food that comes out of that. For me, that's what I study. It's the food of the people. Right. It's the melting pots of the world. That's what the history of food is really showing you, that the way food has moved is not just because the food just happened to be there. It's because the people are there, and then you see this expression of food through them.
Right. Are there any foods today that we would be surprised about that, like our ancestors eat that we still eat today all the time?
Oh wow, you're trying to stuff me.
Quinoa.
Yeah, I'm the gotcha guy.
I love quinoa
got
though,
me,
like
but-
these ancient grains. I feel like we've seen.
I mean,
Or
for
like
me,
honey or something
Yeah.
like.
for me, I would say it's rice.
Yeah.
I studied rice, so let's say like forbidden black rice. It's really called tribute black rice. It was really a rice that in China they used for money, and people started dyeing rice black to say they had money.
I'll try that.
Yeah. And that's why you see all these different variants of black rice around the world, but there's really the unique ancient grain comes from China that we all eat today, and you see different variations. So,
Yeah.
but I'll have one of the original grains at Field Trip, so
Cool.
I'll see you.
I'll be there.
And what would you say the future of food looks like?
I think the future of food for me looks like is the food of the people or the food of the chef. So I think in the past you saw a lot of Italian and French restaurants opening up. You're seeing more restaurants of food that represents the young chef. So it's what their diaspora is. So if it's the Korean kid that went to culinary school, he's actually cooking the food of his grandmother or his auntie. Or it's the young girl that lived in the Basque region. She is pulling specifically from that region and then expressing that food in their restaurant. Or if it's the African American kid that's making the food of the African diaspora that touches on the West Indies and West Africa and South America. That's what I see what food is looking like. It's more representing of the chef and then their experience on the plate.
Yeah, definitely. And we are a brunch show. So, and you're living in New York. Where do you go for brunch?
Wow, I used to work at a really famous brunch restaurant called Jane on West Houston back then.
Yeah, we know Jen.
I was there slinging eggs and poaching eggs.
Restaurant.
But for brunch, for me, I mean, the Henry, my restaurant on 31st Street between 5th and 6th is really great. We do everything bagel roti with smoked salmon and some za'atar yogurt. But my brunch spot, it all is based on the neighborhood. I love the Smith. I helped open up the first one, classic.
Yeah.
I love Melba's in Harlem. Really good eggnog waffles and fried chicken. But if I tell you, then the place is going to get really busy, and then I'm not going to be able to get in.
Right.
But I'm a mimosa guy. I'm a mimosa guy.
All right.
The Henry Smith, and then you
The
got
Melba's. I'll take you guys to
Yeah,
Melba's.
yeah, yeah.
You take
All
them
right.
to Melba's.
I will. I'll hook them up. Well, JJ, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.